Can you hear us? Do we lose him?
Hey, James, can you hear Michelle okay?
Hi, Anne. Haha. Very cool. I think you're muted. Can you hear us, Anne? I think, okay, so that's good. At the top, there's like a little mute button, like a little microphone that's red, maybe. Sometimes that happens when people pop in.
Is this better?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, I could hear you that.
Oh, you can hear her?
I could, yeah.
Oh, strange.
I'm not going to stay on. I just wanted to make sure that everyone was connecting. So I will say bye.
Yay. Okay.
Thank you.
Bye. I wonder if James will pop back on. We'll see. I like your room.
Thank you. I like the Seahawks and I like the water, so that's you know, the nice thing about this is kind of the secret live truth about virtual teaching is I don't need to change the camera. I don't need to show you how messy the room is. It's all hidden down low, right? So
Yeah, I mean, it's us too. Like, I'm in my little corner in my back, like it's like an old garage, and all you see is this. It's not bad.
yeah.
Okay, so tell me what you do. Are you a teacher? Like, in terms of, have you been a teacher for a long time? Like, what is your background?
Yeah, so I started my teaching career in California about 15 years ago. I taught Pleasant Hill Middle School in the Bay Area. I taught there for 3 years, moved to Linden High School when I moved back up here to be closer with family as we were starting our family. And that was, I stopped working at Linden High School about 3 years ago. I'm sorry, after 3 years, about 8 years ago. And I've been with Washington Virtual Academy as a science teacher at the high school since then. So 8 years as a high school teacher online and 6 years as a real teacher.
As a real teacher.
Yeah.
So then, so do you primarily do what you do now, like from your house?
Yeah. I am upstairs in a converted bedroom, and that's what I do when I'm not going out and doing an activity with students, which it's a couple times a month for me. So a couple times a month I'll go out, I'll do an activity and meet with students, but otherwise I'm pretty much here.
Wow, that's awesome. So what does a typical day look for you?
So I wake up and I usually go to the gym 3 times a week, which is nice because I have the time to do that. I don't have, when I worked at Linden, I had a half-hour commute each way. So half hour there, half hour back. And so I have the time now to go to the gym, exercise in the morning, come back, take a shower, and then I'm usually online by 8 a.m. On the days that I don't go exercise, I can literally wake up, mosey upstairs with a cup of coffee and get to work. And so that commute time is like, you know, as long as it takes me to get up the stairs. So that's really nice to have that time back. So the first thing I usually do is see if there's any fires to put out overnight. Did anything happen? And so I'm checking my email to students that may have had questions that pop up overnight. At that point, I have different days. I teach different sections of different classes on different days. And so I will, after all the fires are put out, there's no staff questions, no student questions, then I'll start planning for lessons that I'll be teaching that day. A new role for me is I have started a student ASB last year. So we have an online body, and so I will work with setting up meetings for students. We've got student clubs. We've got student activities going on. I'm the teacher advisor for that, so I get to advise that and see what's going on with the ASB we have a group of officers, and so I'll check that that side of things as well, and make sure everything is kosher and that everybody's getting what they need as far as the ASB and last year I had 2 classes on the same day, so I would prepare 2 lessons to teach on that particular day. Other days I'll hold just help sessions, like open doors where students can come into my class, ask questions. But really, I think the most effective way of communication is just the real-time communication that we can have via instant message. Students are constantly, like, if I'm working on a lesson or grading papers, a student will pop up an instant message or send me an email, and it pops up instantly, and I can stop what I'm doing typically and go answer their question. Oftentimes it's just if it's a quick question, I can just instant message them an answer, and they can go on their way working through the material. Or it might involve setting up a hangout, just like what we're doing here. And instead of looking at my face, usually I'll use some of the screen sharing tools, and I will show them, show them some things on my computer rather than my face. So,
what does ASB stand for? You said it, but excuse me, it kind of cut out when you said it.
Yeah, sorry about that. That's Associated Student Body. That's student government, and pretty much all high schools will have that. So there's a high school student president, a high school vice president, secretary, and homeroom representatives, and things like that. So
cool. What are the challenges with teaching science over, the internet?
When I was in the classroom, I really enjoyed doing kind of eye-catching things, like catching things on fire is usually pretty impressive in person. And so I still do that in my office environment. I'll still catch something on fire, but the students don't feel the heat. They don't feel the energy of the combustion reaction. And so the challenge is how can I present that in a way that's meaningful to them? And so what I found is I can do mine, but I can also outsource. There's a lot of online resources. So what I can do in my virtual classroom here in this office is more limited than what other people can do. So usually maybe I'll try my version live, and then I'll say, hey, but look at what these other guys can do. And it's very easy for me to pull in like an online clip of something more massive and impressive, just to kind of draw the students in to whatever lesson I'm trying to teach.
Oh, that's awesome. Oh, excuse me. I have the hiccup suddenly. What do you think is like one of the greatest rewards about doing what you do, and how do you think the kids like it?
So that's kind of there's a couple different questions there. The biggest reward for me is the ability to work with students one-on-one. When a student instant messages me, it's just coming to me. It's not going to like the rest of the classroom. And sometimes students share some things that maybe they wouldn't share like in a public environment, like some things that maybe some things are going on in their personal life that they're concerned about, but they feel comfortable sharing one-on-one. And a lot of times in the classroom, you don't have those one-on-one opportunities, whereas here the default is a private one-on-one communication. We can certainly bring groups of students together for collaboration and working on things together, but it's very easy for them to send me a message one-on-one. To be able to get to know students, individual students that want to connect, I feel like I can connect with them maybe better than in the classroom in some ways. Some of the challenges that we have with that, though, is that those students that don't want to connect, it's harder to reach them. So that if they want to be private, if they want to kind of hide out or be, if they want to virtually be in the back of the room, they can do that. And so that's one of the challenges. I already kind of told you that my commute is really nice to be able to have that time back where I work where I live, and that's awfully nice. There's no transportation time or costs involved, and so that's really awesome. And then same bell schedule like I did in the normal classroom. I have a much more flexible schedule so that I can work with a student that needs help. I can work with that student and not have a bell interrupt us. There are certain classes at certain times, but it's a lot less rigid than a normal classroom where you've got a lot of other things going on, a lot of events going on. And so that allows me to work with students most of the time. So if I'm teaching a class, obviously I have to wait till the end of the class to help someone one-on-one, but the class is going to be an hour long and I can help them afterwards. So they don't have to wait very long. And it's pretty much all day long that I can help them.
That's awesome.
Even if, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, my hiccups. That's awesome. How many classes do you teach a day?
Each day I teach typically 1 or 2 in a day. And that could be either a content class where I'm giving out information, just like a normal classroom. Like I have a certain set objective that I need to go over this material. But then I also have days where it's more open-ended and I am just available for help. It's more, hey, come in with your questions and I can help you out. So I would say I do on average 1 to 2 sessions a day where it's either open or structured.
Gotcha. Do you know the family that we're talking to tomorrow?
I had never got their name, so I'm not sure.
Okay. Let me, oops. I'll look for it really quickly.
While you're looking, well, actually, I was going to see if our other friend was, but.
Who, James?
Yeah, I wonder where he went. But
I don't know. It looked like he was having some trouble.
Yeah, he kind of froze. So anyhow, we'll worry. He's good.
You know what's interesting is that when in the 90s, when I was in school, when I was in high school, we had ITV learning. So it was like, we had one teacher in another school district who would teach her class, and then we could I don't know if it was like satellite in or whatever, and then she would teach us, she would teach both of our classes. Like one was virtual, we were the virtual one. And I'm wondering, sometimes I'm like, ooh, is this the classroom of the future? But we've kind of had that for a while, but this is kind of a whole different thing because it's like an entire school. So that's really not a question. But I'm just wondering if this learning is kind of the way of the future.
I think for some people it is the way of the future. For some people it's not. It's a school that for certain students it works really well. Students that have a social network, students that have family support, students that are self-motivated, students that are willing to ask for help. For those students, it's really awesome. Also for students that have other things going on in their lives, like they're serious athletes, or they're actresses, or they're sick or injured, or they've got family members that are sick or injured. It's really, really great for them. For the general population, is this going to be what everybody's doing in the future? I don't know. I think that there's the potential to have more online in-person hybrid where you can have students online some of the time, and you can meet with students some of the other time. I think that's a model that may work really well in the future. But for those students that for whatever reason school is a challenge for them, if it's a struggle, if they were bullied, if it's an emotional, social issue, it can be a really awesome program for them. And there's opportunities that we're trying to create online where they can have that social connection. But it's really interesting in that I've been doing this for 8 years, and recently looking at what we're doing online, and I'm constantly saying, well, how can we make this better? How can we bring more of that social component in? Which is probably why I am working with the ASB so closely, because I want to build that social network for the students so that they can have people that they know, they can have online friends, they can have classmates that they have shared common experiences. And also I try really hard to do these in-person events where I go somewhere, we do some cool activity that may be related to science or history, or going somewhere to learn is a really cool thing. But also for me, social aspect of it is actually seeing kids from time to time, face to face, I think is really important. And that's where this program has definitely grown over my time at Washington Virtual Academy. The students are working together a lot more. The students are oh, hey, James.
Sorry about that. My computer decided to close down and crash on me. I'll be back as long as I can.
Well, that's okay. We won't take a lot of your time anyway. We were just talking about, kind of like building a sense of community, because, it's important for kids to kind of feel a social aspect, and we were talking about ASB. We were talking about, like who were the students involved right when you popped in. Sorry, Andy, do you want to continue? I think it's really great. I'm wondering, are all the students, do they have to be in Washington, or is it based in Washington?
This is a Washington-based program. That being said, this morning with my orientation, I pulled up a map, and I just had the students use an icon to show where they're at. So they drew on a map, basically. And I've got students all over the state, from every corner of the state that I work with. But it is just within Washington state. That being said, there's programs in Oregon, California, and most of the other states as well.
I think it's fascinating. I wish that I would have had something like that, just because I don't know, you can kind of free up, you can change your learning. I mean, some people are really, just really geared to not be in the classroom, I think, James, go ahead. What were you going to say? I didn't mean to interrupt.
I totally agree. I kind of come from a different perspective. I have two sons, a 10-year-old and a 15-year-old, and they've only known WAVA. They've only been in this school. They haven't been to a brick and mortar. And I can attest to exactly what you said. My 10-year-old learns in a very specific way. I don't know if you have kids or not, but very straightforward. He's moving forward. If you get in his way, he'll go over you. A different kind of atmosphere to learn in, because I wanted to honor who he was and yet still get him to understand how to interact with people, and and it just worked beautifully for him. So, I believe, now this could be a very biased father, but I believe he's by far beyond academically than his peers that he goes to swim club with, just simply because the curriculum is so powerful, and having that one-on-one in this situation, me as his learning coach, he's been able to progress faster and farther than you could in a regular classroom. That's one of the highlights that I've seen with him. Same thing with my ninth grader this year too. I mean, he was able to do more than the average student because he could go at his own pace. Now that's changing a little bit in the middle school, but it really gives him the freedom to learn the way he is and who he is, and not be held back by the constraints of a room or with other students or anything like that.
And you don't think that they are missing some sort of social component, or like how do they, I mean, obviously they're in other things like swim club, but you don't feel like they're missing that, like, oh, I need to go to the prom, or I need to go to homecoming, or anything like that?
Well, the nice thing is Andy does a fabulous job at the high school of creating those things, and Andy can speak more to that in a moment. But now that he's in the high school, he'll have those same opportunities. Now, the cool thing is he can still do all the things at the high school right here in our local town. So he can be part of the high school swim team, which he will this year. He can go to the prom and those things. But Andy, tell him about all the things you guys do at the high school for the kids that are extracurricular.
Well, you mentioned prom. We actually have a real prom. That's one of our real events. that we have a prom every spring, and that's really a great opportunity for these students to get together that they've been in class together, and now some of the time they show up at prom is the first time that they've met their classmates. And
Exactly.
what's really interesting is the social barrier. Initially, students come in and they're a little bit leery. It's it's their first prom maybe, but they show up, and because of the shared experiences that they've had throughout the year, those friendships that they already have visually, like they're no longer standing in the corner kind of away from everybody. They're involved, they're dancing, they're doing everything that you would normally see at a prom, even though they may not have ever been in the presence of most of the people in that room. Last year we did for the first time we did a talent show. It was a virtual live hybrid. So we had a webcam at an auditorium at the Great Wolf Lodge, so students could participate live, but we also had just as many students participate virtually by either doing a live virtual, sending in a recorded video clip, so that students can showcase kind of their skills and personalities. So we've got clubs at the high school level that we invite. Last year I led the hike club. We did a hike every month around different spots in the Pacific Northwest. That was open to high school and middle school students, and we'd get out on a Friday afternoon and we'd go on these hikes. And the geology background from my college days, I get to stop and we get to look at the rocks and slugs and all the good things out there. And we have the flexibility as teachers, and we also have the students also have the flexibility to be able to make time for that. And it's an open invitation when we do those type of things. Parents are involved. Parents are invited to come along, and a lot of times that's not the case in the normal classroom. That parents don't get to go on the field trips. So.
This reminds me a little bit. My one of my good friends was homeschooled, and her mom would take them everywhere. I mean, if they wanted to learn about space, they would go to Florida for vacation, and then I mean, it was just kind of really neat how all the opportunities that opened up when you were on your own schedule, or when your schedule is flexible, I should say.
That's exactly right. And the middle school teachers, just like what Annie was talking about, we also have these field trips. But the nice thing is I have students all the way over in Spokane. I may not be able to personally meet with them, but teachers over in Spokane area, they'll do a field trip, and then those kids can be invited to that. So they have ways of interacting with other students, not only just in their class, but also with younger classmates also, just by those field trips. So we could be doing a unit, for example, we have a local industry here of shellfish. So I could do a unit on shellfish and then actually go to a plant that processes them and goes through they can get live feedback questions one-on-one with actual people who do that in a small group, because usually it's between 20 and 30 people who will go on those with the parents, which is always awesome to have them involved. And they can get that this is how real life is.
Yeah, I think that's what we miss sometimes in schools, that there's a whole real life out there, so you guys get to help teach that, and the kids get to experience that.
Exactly.
If there's one thing that you want people to know about this, what would you tell them about virtual learning or just or the school itself? What would you tell them?
I think what I would say is that this is a real school. It's not just a correspondence course where you read and mail in the paperwork. This is a real school with real interactions, and real relationships will form, not only between the teacher and the student, but the student and the student. And I'm really making it a goal to make that a priority in not only my instruction, but what I do as the ASB, as a student government teacher advisor. I'm really trying to open up the social online community where students really do feel like they know one another. So that's my, I guess my little pitch is that I don't think that a lot of people realize that this is a real school, that it just happens to be online.
And I would dovetail that too. This isn't just a school, but it's a challenging school. You're not going to come here trying to escape something and think that you're going to get by easily. The curriculum, the expectations of the teachers are greater than what you would expect into a brick and mortar, because we have this continual communication. I mean, I'm communicating with parents every single day about how their student is doing. So the kids can't hide. So if you're coming here to get away from something, it doesn't work, because we're there with you through every step of the way. I totally agree. I think for my boys specifically, I know that they have received an education that's going to prepare them for college better than they would at the local school for many reasons. One, the curriculum is powerful. Two, the teaching staff is excellent. And three, the parents were involved every step of the way. And so it's a win-win situation for everybody, the student, the teacher, and honestly, the community too.
Wow, that's great. That's great. Is there anything that you want to add before I actually end the broadcast? I was going to ask you guys some questions after I end, but anything you want to add?
It left the normal classroom, and I really loved the normal classroom. When I taught in the Bay Area and I taught at Linden High School, I left something that I really, really loved. And I got into this because I really felt like technology was something that I was good at. It was something that I could communicate and I could work with. And I just really thought, hey, now is the time. Now is the time in civilization where this is really going to be developed. And I left a place that I really loved to come and be involved in this. And as I was saying earlier, there's been big improvements that I've seen over the past 8 years especially with the socialization and getting students interacting with one another and building that community. So I feel like, 10, 15 years ago, there wasn't such a thing as an online community. And so now I feel proud to be here, kind of developing that and working with that and really trying to promote that we can do this online. And we may have to be creative and we may have to think about things differently, but we can do pretty much most of the things that you could do in a normal high school. And as James said, some of the things we can actually do better because of this environment.
And I would add to that, I spent 15 years in the regular classroom, just like Andy said. I really enjoyed that, but I was looking for something more. I wanted to reach students in a different way, and this really provides that opportunity to combine all the things I love, technology and teaching. I know I had a lot of technology in my classroom, but this is a different kind. The kids are going to see a lot more in the future. Honestly, this is maybe the wave of the future. I don't know. Could be.
Great. Thank you guys so much. I'm going to end the broadcast, but I do have a couple of questions for you. But I'm going to share this portion on king5.com. So if people want to watch the whole thing, and then I'll clip some snippets for our story. But thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
You're
Thanks
welcome.
for having us.
Thank you for the opportunity.